Let's go. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Burning It Down podcast. My name is V, and we have a couple of very special guests. We have my cousin Izzy and her boo Angel. Say hi to the nice people.
What's
Hi.
up?
Hey, what's up? So yeah, welcome back to the show, and a bit of a recap. It's been a little bit of a long time since I did one of these. I think we did it like right at the end of last year, but a lot of stuff has kind of gone down since then. Personally, wife's car broke down, so bunch of money out the door on that bullshit. And then on top of that, the house almost burnt down.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know if you.
Okay, so he called me. We recently came back from Florida. We went in the beginning of the year. Went to go visit his family. A great trip. And I just get a random call from V like, "Hey, so the house almost burnt down, and we're gonna have to go through your room to get to the attic because the attic is in my closet on the top." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, just do whatever you need to do. I'm glad you're alive, and I hope everything works out."
No, it was crazy shit. So like, what happened was. And I'm glad it happened like when it happened, because I was like, damn, imagine we were asleep and like this whole fucking house,
crazy.
Went to shit. But no, we were cooking breakfast. We were just like chilling, making freaking bacon and eggs and shit. And as I'm sitting here, my wife's like, hey, do you smell that? It smells like smoke. And I was like, nah, you're tripping. I mean, because I'm cooking. All I smell is like, bacon. I'm like, smells good. What are you talking about? So she's like, no, I swear, like, there's something going on. Something's not right. So then she gets up and starts walking out. And I'm like, well, let me follow her. Worst case scenario, I want to see, like, what's going on. So as I'm following her, she turns a corner. And then out of the vents, I see smoke coming out. Jeez. I was like, oh, shit, this is serious. So she keeps going. I'm like, fuck this. I run to the backyard. I grab one of my ladders. I turn on the hose, jump on the ceiling, and sure enough, the fucking AC unit up in the top is like smoking out. So, I'm like shooting water at it, trying to, cool it down. I saw it was a gas line like connection there, so I turned off the gas and I stayed up there till like I could hear, the flame kind of turn off. And that was it. And I was like, damn, this is the 31st, this is the last day of 2020. I was like, damn, 2020 ain't done with me yet.
Yeah, they're trying to take you out.
It was like, you were leaving, son. And I was like, damn.
You know what's crazy? Okay, so backstory. I got coronavirus when, the pandemic had first started. And I lost my sense of smell for a couple months. It was about 4 or 5 months. And I can't imagine being here and not being able to smell the gas. Because
it wasn't gas, it was like smoke.
Oh, like the smoke. Yeah. I remember there was a point, like I used to work at Starbucks, and I remember one of my coworkers was like, do you smell that? It smells like something's burning. And I'm like, no, I do not smell it because I do not have a sense of smell. And they open the oven and there's a fucking chocolate chip cookie on fire. In my time working at Starbucks, like 2 years, I saw like at least 5 chocolate chip cookies just burst into flames. It was only the cookies. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing is like I can't like that was my biggest fear was not being able to smell when something was burning or like something was about to explode. Yeah. And I remember my coworkers being like, "Well, if you just see us running, just run with us." I'm like, "Okay, I'll run after you guys." Like.
No, well, that's the thing though, because like I mean, sometimes like okay, I'll admit it's not a good thing, but sometimes like my wife will say shit and I'll be like, "Oh, you're exaggerating." So that was one of those moments, and I admit it, I was wrong that one time. I was like. Cooking, I was like, we smell smoke, like I'm freaking cooking, like what do you expect? Too. And yeah, sure enough, like it was true, and that's what I was telling her. Like, imagine we were asleep, the heater was on all night, and imagine like we were asleep, and then carbon monoxide, and then we got a 3-year-old, and like yeah, you'd be like the first one out, this stuff really went down, but yeah, so had to spend all this money to fix that. On top of her car's still out there waiting for like a new engine. It's just been a pain. But then while that was going, the whole world took a shit. I mean, like, first and foremost, friggin' all these people were storming the Capitol. Yeah, all this stuff right now with, like, the stock markets are all, like, going up and down. People are trying to eat the rich, apparently. And, yeah, man, I guess 2020 is turning out to be a great year.
Yeah, it's the sequel.
I know, right? Like, you thought 2020 was bad. 2021.
And Rona's still not over.
No, in California, we got like supposedly like a new like more deadly strand. I mean, I don't know, man.
The mutated strand or whatever.
At this point, it's like you don't even know what to do now. Like I don't know, like good luck working now. Now, like apparently, if you want to go back to work, some places are asking for like a vaccination record and a lot of people don't want to get the vaccine.
Yeah, I was watching an interview on the H3 podcast where they had Andrew Yang, and I believe he's running for mayor of New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, his idea of like being able to like go out in like Rona times is that people will have like a passport, and the only information on the passport would be if you're vaccinated or not. So you would be able to enter a club, a concert, anywhere where there's like a large gathering of people, but you would just have to have the passport confirming that you had been vaccinated to be able to join those events.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man.
That's a lot of bullshit.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Because you know they're going to have to go every year and get vaccinated again. And, you know, it's just like regular flu vaccines, you know? It's just going to be like everything else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I mean, it is pretty messed up. Like my in-law, my sister-in-law, almost like a month ago, they were all like positive, and then her husband ended up in the hospital. He had to come home with like a oxygen tank, and he was saying shit. He was like, "No, man, it's just the flu until it fucking hits," and then you're like, "Oh shit!" But you're right. It's like, you know, at what point do you stop? You know, it's like, you know, you got to regulate everything, because I don't know. Like, I'm on the fence. Like, I believe this shit's real. I know people that have died, so I can't be like, nah, it's all some bullshit, you know. But at the same time, like, I'm like, yeah, but you gotta be able to survive, you know. It's like one thing where it's like, yeah, I'm alive, but like, am I living? You know, like I can't go nowhere, I can't do anything. How many friends? Like I haven't lost, but I just lost touch with, you know, because it's like, oh well, hey, I can't hang out with you because God forbid you kill me or I kill you, you know. Yeah. Like my aunt Letty, like I haven't seen her in a year, and she just caught the damn thing again. New Year, she went to someone's house, you know, be like, oh, you know what, I'll go out today, and then she caught it that day. So,
and I feel like it's like I remember at like the very beginning, like LA was very compliant. Like you would see the freeways completely empty. Like you would never see that.
Oh, that was a great time.
Oh,
I
love that time,
dude.
A crazy time. Like the freeways empty, unheard of. But I feel like as time goes on and people get bored, they're like, oh, well, it's probably not that serious until it affects them personally.
100%. I mean, because, like, I don't know. It's like, the way that I saw it is when this shit first happened back in, like, March and February. I mean, supposedly it happened back in, like, November of the year before, but whatever. Back when it first started hitting hard, I feel like everybody was on the same page. They were like, yeah, wash your hands, you know, be clean, like, only go out if you need to go out, and yada, yada, yada. It almost felt like, I don't know. I mean, you guys are probably too young, but like when 9/11 happened, everyone was like on the same team, you know, like yeah, you know, we're Americans, you know, we gotta survive this, you know, like, and that's how it felt when Corona first happened. It was like, yeah, you know, like we're all gonna take care of each other, we're all gonna be safe. Yeah, you had a couple of outliers that still didn't wash their hands when they went to the bathroom or whatever, but for the most part, people were like, yeah, let's kind of like come together. But then after a couple of months of like you can't go nowhere, you can't do anything, and then especially when like you aren't impacted, like I said, like most of the people in my family, like they've gotten this shit. Like I don't know, I've dodged bullets left and right, but there's a lot of people that don't even know anyone who's gotten sick. So a lot of times those are the people that are like, wait, what's going on here? And then they put up the first flag, like, is this shit really happening? And then when someone else says like, this doesn't seem to be as serious, and everyone else starts kind of jumping on that wagon, and then it gets to a point where like no one believes shit, because like, and then the news is like contradicting itself. There was one report where they were saying, oh, because everyone's wearing masks, no one has the flu, but then the same report is like, no one's wearing masks, so everyone's got coronavirus. And it's like, which one is it? Is it that we're all wearing masks and the numbers are low, or that no one's wearing masks and the numbers are high? So it's just like, it's inconsistent, and that's where like people start questioning shit.
And it is crazy to think of like even in different states, we're living in different worlds. Like how I said, like we just came back from Florida. It's crazy to me. Like we would go to the gym and like we would go to the grocery store, and there were so many people that just wouldn't wear masks.
Yeah, and I'm from Florida, and it was very surprising just to see that.
Yeah, and like in California here, you go to the gym without a mask, you get kicked out, and all of our equipment is outside to, you know, and social distancing. Like the gym is not an essential service that you need to have. But you know, like some people are like, if I'm safe and I wear a mask and I sanitize, it's worth the risk for me. But in Florida, no one was sanitized.
No
I think
one cares.
Like everyone walking without masks. The employees wouldn't say anything, and I was shocked. Like we would be in the gym, and we would be the only 2 people wearing a mask in the whole entire gym.
Yeah.
And like we went to a pool place. We were playing pool, and even the bartenders weren't wearing masks.
Yeah.
Like how does that make you feel to order a beer from someone that refuses to wear a mask?
I mean, food. I mean, beer, at least, like, it's in a can or it's in a bottle. You just got to wipe it down. Food, you know who's back there. You know, coughing and shit.
It's crazy.
Keep in mind to whoever is going to be listening to this that we went to Bradenton, Sarasota area, and that's just like Central Florida on like the West Coast.
Yeah.
So we can't speak for like Miami or like Jacksonville or like any of those other places, but like as for Bradenton, Sarasota area, it is very relaxed, and wearing a mask is almost an option.
And it's not the judgment part, because I realize that like, you know, communities are different and like how they react to things.
Yeah.
It was just a shock coming from
California specifically.
But I do realize that California has our numbers are off the charts. Like we have so many infected people. Like I do understand that we are more strict, but it was just like I just wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the end of the day, what can you do? Because there's only so much you can do to like, oh hey, you know, you're a restaurant. Well, guess what? You just can't have people coming over. Like, okay, well, how am I supposed to make my money? Oh, I don't know. That's on you. You figure it out. Are you gonna like, you know, stop the rent? Or at the very least not tax me? Government's like, nah bro, like you still owe us what you owe us, so you just gotta figure it out. And it's like, okay, well, like you're blocking me from making the money that I need to like keep myself alive. Like let's not even talk about paying the staff and like paying myself, making sure my mortgage get paid. No, like I gotta make enough money to at the very least afford the rent on the place that I'm like, you know, servicing or whatever.
Yeah, I remember, like I saw on Twitter that there was this post that said that like if most of us like aren't allowed to get our or like basically aren't allowed to work for our paychecks, like why are landlords entitled still to their paychecks? I
mean, I don't know, man. Well, see, that's the problem though, because because of the society that like we live in here in the U.S. We have the room to kind of like think about both sides, because I mean, it sucks that like, you know, people are being evicted and like, I don't know, I heard some stories about people that were like at a motel. You know, there's no kitchens in there. It's just like a bedroom, a bathroom, and a shower, and like that's it.
Maybe a microwave.
Yeah, well, it's not made for like long-term living, you know, but people are staying in there. And then now that all this stuff happened with Corona, like they're just staying. And then a bunch of they'll take over a whole like Motel 6, let's say, you know, just using it as an example. And no one will leave. They'll like agree with the other tenants, like, oh, we'll just all stay here. And then it's like, okay, well, like, I get where you're coming from. Like, oh yeah, where are they supposed to go? You know, there's a whole argument about like, oh, what, you just want homeless people roaming the streets? Like, I get it. Like, people need to be somewhere, but at the same time, like, okay, it's a motel. Like, it's not meant for more than like maybe 2 weeks of you living in there. But no, you're like taking up permanent residence. You're not paying for anything. Someone's got to pay for the gas. Someone's got to pay for the water. Because if there's no water and no gas or whatever, electricity, then the owner can get fined for like having an inhospitable area and people are living there. He can get fined by the government saying, oh, hey, you're supposed to have power, you're supposed to have water, or else it's inhospitable and it's cruel. And it's like, but they're not paying. Like, how am I supposed to just shell out money for like all the bills, utility, on top of the rent, on top of the tax, and just, you know, accept the fact that people, you know, don't have the funds? And so, like, you know, I almost have to play like devil's advocate, because it's like, yeah, it sucks, because as you know, the government doesn't give a shit about homeless people right now.
Yeah.
Like right now, I think the cops just said like, you know, oh, there's curfews, and then they exempt homeless. But I get it. It's like, because where are they supposed to go? Yeah. But it's kind of like, yeah, you're exempt, but we're still not going to do anything to like help you. At least some other states, I've heard that they've like bought out hotels, and then the government is sponsoring homeless people to live in there. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're homeless or not. You can still spread the shit, you know?
Yeah. And especially homeless people, they're the ones that come in contact with the most people anyway.
Yeah, and if you don't have money to buy masks and like you're coughing and shit, like what are you gonna do? You know, just cough into your freaking elbow now. You're supposed to do like the whole vampire shit, but like, you know, like, okay, you can't afford a mask. You know, you're out in the streets, and it's like, oh, you can't be out here. Oh, you can't wear a mask. You know, you can't be without a mask. It's like, what are you supposed to do? You know, so it's, I don't know. Everything's backwards.
Yeah, I think that the whole thing is really like a flawed system. Like the whole curfew thing, where okay, if you decide, if the governor says, hey, don't go out past like 10 o'clock, then people obey. But what happens with that? More people are out like before the curfew ends, just because they need to get groceries.
No, 100%.
They need to do like everything that they already just basic life shit. And so there's more people in stores. They might have a capacity, but what about the people in line outside?
I don't know,
like,
man.
Are they enforcing the mask rules outside? Like, there's so many questions, and like, as for our leaders, it's really a tough situation to face as to make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Like one of the good, like California's a really good example because you have that what's his name, like Newsom? Yeah. I don't know, what is it, the governor, mayor, whatever.
He's the governor of California.
Yeah.
I was about to say that, where like I feel okay. So recently, Newsom basically lifted a bunch of restrictions in California, and then he said like, oh well, it's up to like the county officials or like the local governments to put up restrictions. And I felt like he was just like, okay, you know, this is not my problem anymore. You guys figure it out. Like,
yeah,
that's exactly.
But he's been doing that. Like, okay, so I don't know. I can't hate on the guy for regulations, but I can for like hypocrisy. Like, I mean, it was like popularized that, oh, everyone shut down, but my businesses, they can stay open. They'll get their own little, like...
Not only his businesses, but his private parties.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He goes, mask.
That was the nail in the coffin, that picture of him hanging out with all his buddies in dinner in an indoor dining space, no mask, no social distancing.
Yeah.
And they're probably all drinking, you know?
100%. Well, that's the thing, though. It's like, well, are you even serious about this? How can I take you serious if you yourself aren't, like... following through? It's the whole, like, you know, practice what you preach thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and it sucks because, like, he could be right. He could be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do shit. But when you go out of your way to, like, contradict yourself, you just throw your argument in the trash.
Dude, fuck the governor of California. Yeah. Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, God, dude. Yeah, let me get my hair done real quick, even though I shut down. I don't know, man. Well, that's what... Oh, go ahead. I was just saying, like, but that goes to what you were saying. Like, the leadership itself is failing. So if the people who are supposed to be our leaders are screwing up, like, they're undermining their own argument. So here they are telling us what to do. The minute they don't do it, we're like, well, this is all horseshit, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I always ask myself this question, like, why has America suffered so much, but every other country has seemingly gotten along? You know, China has done exceptionally well.
They're like 90% like cured.
Yeah. Italy has they've gotten it, you know, moderately fast. They've like been through it, but we have already been going on, and it's still going on for more than a year.
But it's obvious why. The issue here is that, well, okay, let's pull it back all the way to March. Like February, March, they were like, hey, let's give some people money and tell them to stay home. They gave out the money, but they didn't make anyone stay home. If they would have literally just been like, hey, we'll give you $2,000, like back in March or whatever, but you got to stay home for a month, you know? 4 weeks. The shit lasts too, so they would have been able to, like, at the very least clear a lot of the stuff up and been like, hey, we're going to give you $2,000 to stay home. And if you leave your house, you're going to get, you know, fined or whatever, you know. You got to be going to the grocery store and back, and that's like it. If they would have done that and actually enforced it back in March, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't be asking for more money. Every month now, it's like, oh, we want $2,000. Like, I mean, like, I support Bernie, but even this dude's like, oh, we want not just $2,000, but retroactively. We wouldn't have to do all that shit if they would have just been like, hey, we're going to give you money this one time, but you have to stay home. Instead, they were like, here's the money, and then just kind of do what you want with it. Yeah. And then, you know, if you want to stay home, that's cool. But it's like...
Yeah, like I mentioned before, the H3 podcast, I'm a huge fan. Watch every week. 10 out of 10. But one of the hosts, Ela Klein, she's from Israel. And she was telling a story about, like, how in Israel, if you even walk outside your door, there's cops there to ask you, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You need to get, and this was like at the very beginning of the pandemic. They're like, you need to get back inside.
But that's also a weird. It's a really weird territory because then it's infringing on rights.
It wouldn't work in America.
Yeah.
Because what do people think? Like, oh, this is America. I'm
but
free
look what happened
and
in
I can
India.
do whatever I want.
Like, there was videos of India where if you left your house, the police would beat you with batons. Like, that was it. That was the policy. The policy is if I see you on the streets, it's a wrap. Like, like, you better be in a car on your way home. But if you're walking on the streets, you're going to get beat. That's
Hands
like
on
it.
sight.
But imagine that in America. Imagine that in Florida. You know? Cop shows up and says, hey, you're out of your house. Just pulls out a baton. Yeah. No, man, how long until people say, you know what? F the cops.
No, in Florida, they pull out their pet gator and then
that's
they
what I'm
get
saying.
12 gauge and then they just...
I didn't see a gator. That was my biggest regret. I did not see an alligator.
You were in the area. That's your fault. I even asked her, did you like eat gator? Because that's the only reason I go to Florida.
Mariscos? That's how you say it, right?
Mariscos, yeah.
Yeah, that's like...
There's a lot of different types, but that's how you pronounce it.
Your mom is chef's kisses.
How was Florida, by the way?
It was an experience. I mean, just to recap in a little bit more detail, I don't know what you guys have talked about before, but for purposes of what we're talking about right now, we went over there, and the flight, we flew with Frontier, which was a mistake, you know. But
it was super cheap.
Was it like Spirit? Have you been on Spirit?
No, yeah, I haven't been on Spirit, but I can't. Okay, so imagine basic ass seats. You can't charge your phone. There's no screen in front of you. You barely have a little fold out table, whatever. It was just, and then
it was $160 a person.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah, round
sometimes
trip.
you get what you pay for, you know.
But okay, so we landed there. They lost his bag. They were like, we don't know where the fuck your bag is.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So and then the next day they call us like, no, they didn't even call us. He had to call them. It was like, hey, I'm looking for a bag, and they're like, oh, you're looking for this green bag. They already knew which bag it was.
And I was like, oh, this is yours? Oh shit, we're about to sell it.
So
exactly.
So we go to the airport. They're like, oh, just walk up to the front desk. It'll be here. No one's at the front desk. We asked this lady working at the airport. She doesn't work for Frontier, but she's like, oh, she's like trying to help us. She takes us to this place where they're supposed to be, and we're waiting for them to get there.
Super nice lady.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So nice. And then after like 30 to 45 minutes, we're still waiting there, and then they call Frontier again, like, hey, where the fuck are you? And like, oh, we're out at the front desk. Where have you been? And we're like, okay, so then we had to go back to the front desk, get the bag.
You're like, was anyone gonna tell us? That
It was just like no communication. Like we had to like suck the information out of them. Like, please give me the information.
Yeah,
I need my bag, kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
it's like, but at the same time, for the price, it's very basic.
Yeah, no.
And then when I got my bag, they were like, "Can I see your ID?" And I don't really blame them for it, but at the same time, like, they've been receiving calls about this bag, like, all day.
It just like
they answered. You know, I spoke on the phone with them, but then like when we go over there, she's just like, "Is this really you?" Like, come on now, would I really waste 45 minutes?
It was like we got there and she was like, "You're looking for a bag, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's a C bag. It's green, it's military, like issued, blah blah." Describing this fucking bag. It's from San Diego, like all these.
They have all the details, yeah.
Yeah, so she hands him the bag. He has his hands on it. She's like, "Wait, let me see your ID." And, okay.
Because I've only described everything, including what's in the bag, but you're like, I don't know, man. You could have just guessed it. Like,
It was like a bad first day, but on our flight back, it was fine.
Yeah.
It's like one of those issues where like you forget your Gmail password and then they ask you a security question and then you put the right answer because obviously you know yourself and then you put the right answer and then they say no, it's wrong.
No.
You log into a new device and like they try to log in. Is this you?
Yeah, like 16 emails like, oh, someone tried to log into your device.
We stop those motherfuckers.
You're like, it was me, dude. No, my favorite one is like, oh, wrong password, wrong, and then like 3 tries, reset password, and then you're like, okay, you type in the password you're using 6 other times. They're like, oh, new password can't be the same as old password. I'm like, just tell me you want a new password. That's all I gotta say. Oh, hey, this password's legit, but like, switch it up.
I hate that one. It's like, especially with my college, I'll get that every once in a while. Like, you have the wrong password. I'm like, no, I don't. I know I don't. And then after 5 tries, I'm like, okay, I reset it. And then like I got an email being like, oh, thank you for resetting your password. This is the yearly password reset. And I'm like, why did you just tell me?
Right.
Put me through all that fresh, girl.
Like, I gotta argue with you for an hour just to figure out this is like a common practice. Like, just tell me up front. Be like, hey, you know what? Like, that password you use, it's good. But like, hey, like I said, switch it up. Ooh, sorry.
Anyways,
I don't know. Doggy just has like a mind of his own. You're fine.
She part something.
But yeah, after that experience, that was just like the first day, and then the second day,
we're there
I feel like the whole experience in itself was like, I really appreciated that she went with me.
Yeah.
Just because like she was in a completely foreign place.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
A completely foreign place, and just like surrounded by people like she didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's just something that should be mentioned in itself, just to be appreciated.
No, I will. Okay, if we appreciate each other, wouldn't. I remember your mom told me, like, specifically, like, she was like, I want you to feel welcome here, blah, blah, because she talked about how she knows you feel welcome in my house, like, with V.
Oh, yeah.
Nancy, like our whole family, our friends, like their friends come over, my friends come over, and we're all just like hanging out.
I get offended if he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm bugging." I'm like, "Dude, you're bugging me by like saying that, you know? Like, just come through, bro."
Yeah, so like I remember your mom was like, "How your family accepts him, I want to accept you," and I like, oh my god, that almost made me cry.
Aww.
But yeah, it is like you know you're here all the time, like not all the time, but like you're here when you can, and like we're having fun with you here.
Yeah, of course.
Vibing. I use that word all the time. We vibe.
But I don't know if she's told you about the stories.
I've heard a couple of stories, but I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. So
do we want to put this on the internet?
It don't matter. I mean,
yeah, a couple of. Well, I think it's just interesting. You know, it was an experience that I can't say that I have had, that I have experienced something similar. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think she noticed right off the bat how aggressive my mom is. Yeah. Because like this is like the way that she plays around is just by choking me.
Oh, okay.
Or just like,
hi son, how are you?
I remember him specifically being like, my mom is A, B, and C, and I'm like, no, she's like in my head. I'm like, no, mom is like that. Like I've never met a mom like. And then like I was just like, oh, okay, and not in a bad way. Like you know, like like she's like very like aggressive, but it's because she's like so full of love. Yeah. You know, like she's like, hey, let me like manhandle you.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's exactly how.
Let me elbow you, but that means I love you. You know.
Yeah.
Mom, you stabbed me. It's just I really care.
Yeah, she's like, I just want to make sure you still have blood, honey.
Oh, type O positive, still good. Like it's not gonna change, Mom.
So I mean, one of the situations which I think is the biggest situation that I still regret to this day is just that there was something that we were going through like in the room, you know, like everybody was just like they were already like in bed, and we had already been drinking the night, and mind you, we already drank like a handle. Yeah. And like we were drinking like margaritas the whole night, finished like a whole handle of it, and I had like some beers and like some of the strawberry things that my mom drinks. Yeah. She drinks the big ones though, not the little boys that we were drinking. Not the little bitch
cans. Yeah. She got the
tall cans.
Yeah, she got the big daddies.
So I was mixing and matching the whole night, and I'm sure she was too. And we were just like super drunk. We were like just talking about some shit, and then my mom overheard. And she goes like very like overprotective mode, and she's like, "What's going on?"
No, I do understand that because it's her house.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's her house. Like you know, we're staying in a room in her house. Anything she wants to do, I respect because I'm under her roof.
Yeah, I'm not saying that she was wrong. Like I wouldn't really say that. Like I get where she's coming from. Yeah. But like this is pretty much how it unfolded. Yeah. You know, because she was knocking on the door, and then I was just like, "Oh fuck," and then I opened the door, and then like. She's just like aggressively like she's trying to like figure out what's going on, but like she's coming on, she's like expressing herself.
She's on the attack.
Yeah.
Not just like what's happening. No, she's like, you better tell me what's going on right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of being like super under the influence, I just respond accordingly, and that's something that I really regret. You know.
Yeah. There's a lot of alcohol involved. Again, that's not an excuse, but it was just. It was like there was already arguing in the room.
Yeah.
And then we came in contact with more like aggression.
Yeah.
So it was just like aggression all around.
Yeah.
And like I remember the next day I was like I kind of like barricaded myself in the room, and she came in and she was like, "Are you embarrassed about what happened last night?" I was like, "Yeah, like I feel really bad. Like, you know, we were all arguing. Like it's just not the vision I want you to have of me, because that's not who I am. Like I'm a very introverted, shy person. I do not argue with people. Like I barely say 2 words." And then she was like, "Oh, like everything that happened, like that wasn't your fault." Like,
you know what? That might be like a good I don't know, like, because the way that I see, I look at things is like everything's a lesson. So like,
right
in your shoes, I guess, trying to play the advocate here, that would be like a lesson to me to be like, okay, look, if I do go again, then maybe it's a good idea for me to rent like a hotel, and then just visit. Because here's the problem: let's say shit goes down, where are you gonna go? You're under her roof. Okay, she's mad at me, or I'm mad at her, or whatever. The best that I can do is go from here to like 20 feet away in the other room. And are you really out of the problem? No.
Yeah, it's just like another thing is like, well, like specifically for me, like how I said, like I'm a very introverted person. Like even in our house, like I love all you guys and like I love being around you, but like there'll be times where we would hang out and I'll just reach my limit and I just need to go be by myself for a little bit. And I recharge and I come back. Like I just feel like we kind of stayed a little too long.
Yeah.
And like, but I understand, like, you know, Angel goes on leave once a year.
It was too long.
Yeah.
It's
that's what I'm saying.
It's like sugarcoating. Like it was like a little too long for me, and at the same time, like I was in a room at her house, so I didn't feel right locking the door. So I would like be alone in the room. And like his siblings or her, they would come in and be like, "Hey, what's wrong? Like, why are you here by yourself?" And like, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
His siblings were the cutest children. Okay, I say children, but they were like 14 and 10. Like
children compared to you.
Yeah, children compared to my old ass. But they would come in. Like I loved them.
Yeah.
But they would come in, and his little sister, how old is she?
She's 5.
Oh, okay, then she was 5. She would come in and like, you know, she would show me games on her tablet. But it was just like I don't. It's not that I don't want to be around them specifically. It's just like I just needed to be alone.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. And like, you know, right now, I have my own room, and like I have every right to like lock myself in there if I want to. But I didn't feel right doing that in his mom's house. So like I would get there was a lot of times where like I just yearned to just take like maybe an hour or 2, just be on my phone or just like. Be by myself.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I value that time so much, and then like I just wasn't able to have that, and I felt like that kind of made me like.
But you know that's where like that term quality time comes.
Yeah.
You know, it's quality versus that's why there's no such thing as quantity time. Oh, I spent quantity time with my mother-in-law. Like no, that's what doesn't matter. It's quality. It's like okay, fine. I was there for like 3 or 4 hours. But in those 3 to 4 hours, I did everything I needed to do. You know, had a good conversation, ate some food, was able to like be a part of it. But you didn't overstay your welcome.
Yeah, and it's another thing is like when we went to Florida, we were even talking about going to Disney World. We were talking about going all this stuff, but it was very clear when we arrived that their like COVID restrictions were very different from where we were used to. So like Disney World didn't seem safe anymore. So we didn't go to Disney World. We we went to the beach, but like it wasn't like
you're on your own. You gotta like take care of yourself.
Yeah, so it was like a lot of trying to figure out what was the most social distancing thing we could do.
Yeah,
because everything's open. The world is your oyster in Florida. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. But like you have to think back, like okay, like is this safe? Do I feel safe? Like even when we went to go play pool, there were people around us not wearing masks. So it was just like, it was a lot of like, we had to stay home. So it was like being home and like, there was always a lot of people at home. And again, his family was amazing. Like his mom dyed my hair red and now it's like fading into pink. I love my hair. Great people. But like, I was just, it was the whole thing of like, I just want to be alone for a second. And like, I don't have that option.
But you know what? That might be the issue too. Because a lot of people, like for instance, my wife, she's type B. She's cool, super cool, wants to hang out, wants to have a good time, but there's like a limit that she can reach where after a while she's like, you know what, let me go to my room. I'm just going to sit there for like 10, 15 minutes. But what she's doing is she's decompressing. She's like, I don't know, maybe she's hit her limit of like, her emotions or whatever. And like, she'd rather decompress in her room by herself and then come out like 20 minutes later and like rejoin the fun than sit there and be like overwhelmed, you know?
Yeah.
So like it could be that maybe at a certain point you felt like you overstayed your welcome, or maybe, I don't know, like after a while you're like, man, we shouldn't be here anymore. But because you're staying there, like where else can you go? But that's what I'm saying. Just use that as like a learning exercise. Next time, get an Airbnb, stay out there for like a week or two, or however much you can afford or whatever. And then just go and visit, because what that does is it creates like a degree of separation. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, you're going to Florida. You're going to go visit his mom. You're going to go to her house, but since you're not staying there, she already knows in her head that there's going to be a point where you're going to be like, okay, Mom, everything was great, but we got to bounce. We got other things to do. Mm-hmm. And she'll be cool with it. And that'll help her, too, because when someone is staying in your place, you got to play the host. And a lot of times, like, you can play the host for only so long before you start getting, like, annoyed. Yeah. It's like, oh, they're not really respecting my shit. Or, like, I don't know. There's like, little things that can happen where you might not think it's a big deal, but they might take it different. Yeah. That wouldn't happen if you would have just kept it short and sweet,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do feel that. But at the same time, it was free.
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
and they would cook breakfast 10 out of 10. But yeah, it's just like, I feel like it's a very much me problem, and like Angel deals with it. He knows how I am.
Well, put it this way: how often do you and Angel stay at your mom's house? Never.
We stayed like a couple nights.
Yeah, a couple nights. But how long were you at his mom's house? Weeks.
Oh yeah.
So like, I'm just saying that there comes to a point where like, like, oh, I'm doing them a favor by letting them stay here for free. And then, like, after, like, a week and a half, you're kind of just like, I don't know, you're kind of getting on my nerves. But why? It's because they were living their life. They have, like, a set plan of how they expect their days to go. And when you come in, you're kind of throwing a wrench into the whole thing. And then they'll, like, tolerate it for so long. And then eventually they'll get to a point where they're just kind of, like, tired of it. It has nothing to do with you. It's just, like, I'm not in my routines. I would have been doing this today, but you're here and I got to stay here and like kind of keep you company. And then you start getting like annoyed, I don't know. It's just like being in close proximity. And then especially if you're the type of person that likes to have your free time, you might want to step away and be like, I'm just recharging, but they might see it as, oh, they don't want to be around me. Something's wrong,
Yeah,
it ultimately boils down to like the feeling of obligation, because my mom's feeling like, hey, I'm obligated, or she feels this way, that I'm obligated to like, make their stay here while they're here worth it, and she's feeling like, oh, I'm obligated to like, spend time with like my boyfriend's like brothers, sisters, and parents, and then everyone else, and my friends, And then I'm obligated to, just try and like spend time with my mom, and then try and like see my friends, and then also make sure that she's also happy in the trip that.
But I do feel like it's me though. It's like it's me, like where like I need to be alone by myself. Because like there was one morning where we were gonna go hang out with his best friend Roni. And he was going to take us kayaking. And in my head, I was like, dude, that is the last thing I want to do right now. Like, I don't want to go. And all this stuff. And Angel's like, oh, you ready to go? And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want to go. But, like, when I was there, it was great. And, like, I do feel like it's a lot to do with me where, like there will be days, like, where I just, girl, don't.
No, she's fine. She's like reaching.
She wants to be pet. But there's a lot of times where like I just don't want to go on an adventure. Like I just want to stay in bed. But there's other days I do want to. It was just like one of those days where I just didn't want to be in an adventure. And like, but we went out. Like we had a great time. I met his best friend, and like we had a great time.
Man, and we tripped too.
Oh yeah, I heard you guys took LSD or whatever.
Yeah, so we both took a half tab. And that is very safe, very like
it's a baby dose.
Well, people that don't know, like I am very pro psychedelics, but I'm also like don't like overdo it, because I've heard benefits. Like people who have PTSD or stress or trauma in their life, like they'll take it and then it'll kind of like rewire certain things, and then they'll kind of end up like receiving like a positive benefit. But then if you do it too much, you could kind of fry yourself or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely have experienced that.
You're doing great, sweetie.
My first time taking acid, I think I took 2 tabs and an edible, both at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, and that was the first time, because it was my first time taking acid. It's my first time experiencing what ego death is, and then my first like bad trip on psychedelics. Like it was a whole bunch of like cherries that were popped, and it was like a whole frying experience. But I mean, when we did it in Florida, it was like a, no, I'm not gonna say baby dose, but it was a very safe amount. But like we had very different experiences with it.
Yeah.
In which like she has like, she's experiencing with her things, I experienced with my things.
Yeah.
And I thought that I was gonna be the one, because I have experience with.
Yeah, I'm gonna be chilling, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm just high.
Yeah.
But like she was like that, and I was the anxious one. So it was very interesting.
They say a lot of times like you bring your insecurities along with you for those trips.
Yeah.
So like when you're by yourself, you might be like in a comfortable zone, like let me try this, see what happens, and everything's dope. But then like you introduce like a variable, like my girl, and you're thinking like, damn, how's her trip gonna be?
Yeah.
Like what's gonna happen to her? But what that does is it fucks over your trip. She might have the greatest time of her life, but you're the one like
for example,
I remember we were at the pool. We were at the pool place. We were playing billiards, and then she went to use the bathroom. But like she wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna use the bathroom. She just like left, and then I got so worried. I was just like, where?
I told you your friend. What was her name?
Here, keep talking. I'm gonna read up real quick.
Okay.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm. What was her name?
Ricky.
Okay, so I told Ricky like, hey, I'm going to the bathroom again. And it's funny because so I already know this, but he had the thought like, she's gone, something's wrong or blah blah. But when I was in the bathroom, I thought something was wrong because I remember hearing that someone was trying to get into the bathroom.
Yeah. But
the bathroom was unlocked. It was like a multi-stall, no reason for the door to be locked, and I was like freaking out. I'm like, someone's trying to get into the bathroom. And then when I walked out, I realized that the door to the kitchen was right next to the door to the bathroom, so that's why like people walking in and out sounded like someone was like trying to get in. And I just thought that was
really no, I was more thinking like she's going to the bathroom. That's cool. But like I was worried about like somebody like trying to do something like either on your way to the bathroom or like on your way out of the bathroom. That's what I was thinking of. Because you remember when we first entered the pool, we were just playing, like none of my friends were there. And then we were just playing a game together, and then I saw these group of guys like in front of us, but like kind of to the right.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and then I just saw them, and then I don't know, like
I do remember they were giving bad vibes just because I could feel them staring at me.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfy feeling. It's an uncomfy feeling being a woman, where someone's staring at you and like you look up and you make eye contact and it just feels uncomfortable.
I got very frustrated.
And then I understand that from you, where you like we're together and like you feel like you need to protect me, but at the same time they're not doing anything technically wrong. But it did make me feel uncomfortable for those men to be like, I remember them staring at me like talking to each other and then laughing.
But doesn't that go back to what I was saying? Like it's all your insecurities. Like you're like, they're talking about me. They could be talking about some random bullshit, but you're like, no, eyes are on me. I know. But I'm playing the devil's advocate.
I know you're playing the devil's advocate, but I will say, like, we all had like those men had masks on. Me and Angel had masks on, and we couldn't see what they were talking. Like you can't read lips under masks, whatever. But like I just remember, like I would. Like, billers, like, you bend down, make a shot, and, like, like, me and Angel would be laughing, and then I just, like...
staring at my ass.
And then, like, basically, like, I would, like, just look over, and they would both not be playing and just staring at me, and I'm like... Anyway.
No, but I get it. But that's what I'm saying, like keep in mind, I wasn't there. I'm just throwing shit out.
No, devil's advocate for sure, because there's... I get it. Like, guys get accused of shit all the time. Like, I get the devil's advocate. But just like at that moment, like I remember feeling uncomfy, and when he told me later on, like he felt the same way. I was just like, oh, okay, like.
So it wasn't just you, but that's good because that validates like it's just me. Am I just making this up? But when someone else is like, I saw it too, you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Especially high.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I do appreciate that because there's a lot of times as a woman. I feel a lot of things, and like I convince myself that it's just in my head, and like I'm just in my head, and like. But for him to see the exact same thing I was saying, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was transitioning into a very aggressive mode to where, like, I was pointing at them at one point, but then, like, they, like, got up and left. And I feel like if they would have stayed there, then I'm not saying that anything crazy would have happened, obviously, you know, but I think that like confrontation is to say the least.
No, 100%.
Because I would have asked him like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, what are you talking about, and why are you staring at my girl?
Yeah, well, I mean,
those would have been some of my questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, on top of that is the fact that like talking about your girl, like she's in a new environment.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't know anyone. She doesn't know where anything is. So like, if anyone's vulnerable, it's her. So like, if you feel that she doesn't feel safe, then like, of course, you kind of have that feeling inside of you, be like, I gotta protect her, you know, like
100%.
Yeah, but I mean, you said you were taking like a good trip and it didn't end up well. But talk about like ego death, like you know, explain that.
Oh man, well, I mean, to explain it, not without what I was feeling, but from everybody else, what they told me.
Yeah.
Just seeing me. The first time that I experienced it, I already said 2 tabs and an edible, and once because you know how you're on I don't know if you've taken acid before, but you just like climb up and then you reach that climax. I feel like whenever I reached that climax, it's almost like I fell asleep, but it was only for like a split second.
Yeah.
You know, and then once I woke up, it was like everything in my environment, everything that was around me, I was feeling within myself.
Yeah.
And you know, and what you were saying before about insecurities coming out, I really felt that, and so I found myself like just saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just like over and over and over again, and it was a really weird experience, and I felt like I couldn't even be around my friends just because like I felt like I was doing something wrong to them.
Yeah.
And so most times whenever I would experience like ego death, I would just leave, you know, and just go about, you know, whatever I was gonna do, just leave the specific room, because most of the time, I mean, I used to live in a trap house, you know, not, you know, quote unquote trap house, but like it was a house where like everybody came to just to take drugs and just to watch, you know, whatever, and just to have fun, you know. And I was usually a spaz who just overdid it, and so that's why the first time I took acid, it was the 2 tabs, which is a lot,
you
know. But I mean, I really felt that, and it affected me so much that I actually dove into myself, into like psychology, into like not really theism, which I'm more involved with now, but I was more involved with like, why do people react to certain situations the way that they do? Like, what is triggering their brain in order for them to process like these thoughts? And I actually wrote, there was like a 52-page like notebook, you know, and I just like filled it up with like all the research that I have done. But I proved that all to be useless, because once I stopped caring about like who I wanted to portray myself to other people, or like how other people thought of me, are a lot more fluid with just social interaction in itself.
But that's good, man, because that's healthy. I mean, like, because here's the situation. So, you know, you're young, you're 5, you're 6, you end up going to school, you're in first grade or whatever, and then you start like socially interacting with people, and then you start putting a lot of stock into what other people think about you, and then you stop being you start being this version of you that you think that others would like. Oh, maybe I shouldn't talk about this thing that I'm actually into because someone might make fun of me for it. And I'm talking about six years less for the rest of your school career. Not even calling, you know, let's not even talk about university, just getting to high school. You know, high school is this big social like drama. You know, you gotta like present yourself, you know, like, oh, I can't say that I'm into, you know, we were talking about Naruto earlier, but
it's like, that was one of my biggest frustrations growing up, and even now, like, it's like getting roasted for just liking stuff you like. Like, what is wrong with that? I like what I like.
God forbid hentai.
Go for it.
Anyways, no, it's just let me like what I like. I like what I like for a reason. You don't have to like it. I'm not forcing you to like it. It's just let me like what I like. Like,
but you know, the problem is when you're that young, like I'm talking about elementary school. Like, you get to a point where you realize that, hey, if I don't like the things that most people like, then I feel, it might not be true, but I feel like I won't have any friends. So you start changing yourself to match up what you feel like everyone else is matching up to, which is a problem. Like, I have a memory that I'll never forget. I used to watch like the X-Men cartoons, and I was really into like Marvel and all that stuff when I was like in elementary school. And then at one point, someone asked me something. I can't even remember what they asked me, but I was like, "Oh, let's, this is what's going on." And they're like, "How the hell do you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, I feel it in my bones." But the only reason why I said that bullshit is because in the X-Men show, Wolverine would be like, "Oh, they're, the bad guys are this way." They would say, "Oh, how do you know?" I'd be like, "Oh, I feel it in my bones," So in my mind, I was saying some cool shit, and everyone else is like, "Dude, what the hell are you talking about?"
Okay.
So immediately I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, that aspect of me that likes comic books and likes cartoons, I can't tell people that shit because they're not gonna like me, or I'm not gonna be, maybe nothing would have happened, but what if like it would have woken up other interests? But like, I'll never know. Why? Because it was uncool to like X-Men and cartoons and comics, so I stopped.
I feel that it's so cheesy, but like I feel that with Logic.
Yeah. Logic,
my favorite rapper. Like I have his whole discography. Like anytime he drops merch, I buy something.
Yeah.
I have all his albums on vinyl. I have a tattoo dedicated to Logic.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking love Logic. But everyone is like, like what they say about Logic and like, that all the negative stuff. I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure everyone's heard it. But it's just like his intro to his first album, Under Pressure, was it for me. It was just, it was the song I would listen to every day when I was at my most depressed. Can you get me one, babe?
Yep.
Thanks. I was at my most depressed, and like that was it for me. For that song, I would listen to all the time, and then it turned into listening to the album all the time, and then the Incredible True Story, and then like it just like every album after that. And like I remember I flew to New York to listen to him perform his album for the first time, and I believe it was which one was it? Which album was that? I'm trying to think right now.
Just pick her up.
Ooh,
sorry.
She's mine now.
It's okay.
She's mine.
She's a girl.
What album was that? It wasn't The Incredible True Story. It was the one after that. I'm kind of litty right now.
Yeah.
But like I just remember like I just needed to see him live, and like like I've done so much art dedicated to Logic. Like I fucking love Logic, and he's just such a huge part of my life. But in high school, I would get fucking roasted just for listening to him, and I'm like, just let me like what I like. And like I remember like early 20s, like before I met you, like I would hang out with guys, and they'd be like, "You really listen to Logic?" I'm like, "Yes." He's fucking good. I like him. Like it's just like, why do you have to roast? I saw something here. Why do you have to roast someone for what they like? It brings comfort to them. They like it. And like Logic has an album for any type of mood you in. You the vibes, supermarket.
But you know what that kind of boils down to? It's kind of like you like what you like, and then you got to find out what it is about this world that keeps you interested. I think when I was like 20, 21, I took off to New York, and I spent a few years out there on my own, and then I got really into the whole concept of like know who you are.
Sure.
And like know thyself. It's like a mantra that people have. Like, and until you know who you are, you don't have a hope in the world to like figure out where you belong in the world, So I remember there was a large portion of my life where I spent trying to find out what were my interests, what it all boiled down to was like liking yourself, and that doesn't mean like liking every aspect of yourself. If you're overweight, if you find yourself, I'm not interesting, I don't have any hobbies, I'm not saying that like you should continue that trajectory. Find out what you like about yourself, and then find out what you don't like about yourself, and then work on fixing those things, and then become a person that you like. And then once you kind of figure that out, you can kind of figure out where you fit in the world. So that's why I think it's really important for people to like find their own interest. And it could be something small. It could be, like we talked about anime, we talked about music, whatever. Just find out what it is about yourself, or what it is about the world that you're basically stuck in that you like. And then once you find those things, you can kind of find your way through it. Because at the end of the day, like I talked with Nancy a while back, and it sounds kind of harsh to say, but like I don't feel like everything has like an intrinsic like value, like everything just by default is valuable. Like I don't really believe that. I believe that we all exist. There's value in being alive, but outside of that, like you have to give your life value. Like what's the meaning of life? It's to give your life meaning. Like and what does that really mean? Find something that you like. Invest your time and your resources in things that interest you, and then that's the only way you can really give your life any sort of meaning or flavor, even. Because if you're just living your life day to day, going to work, clocking in and out, and you hate your life, every day you live is horrible, then, like, why are you here? Like, what's your purpose? Just to suffer and then one day die? Like, I don't know. But that all I'm saying is, like, I think it's important to find things that you like and then invest time in it. And then what's going to happen? You're going to eventually bump into somebody else that's also interested in the shit that you like. And that's how you make long-lasting, like, connections or friendships. It's like the whole thing about like, oh, what do I do? Do I go to clubs? Do I go to like places to meet girls? Like, no. Go if you like paintballing, go paintballing. Oh, you like playing, pool? Go play pool.
You'll meet the people that like doing what you do when you're doing the stuff you like to do.
100%. Half the work is done. Everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the club and try to meet a girl and see if she likes shit. No, fuck that. Do what you like. You like playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Go to Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. There's gonna be a girl there, and she's already interested in the shit that you like. Because why? She's at the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament.
That's really funny because like when I went to community college, like I would take art classes, digital media college, and it wasn't like the intro classes. It was like the advanced classes kind of thing because I was trying to get my degree. And you would meet so many people that liked what you would like. And because it's like a niche, like where like, oh, you like graphic design, then that probably means that you like this anime or you like this cartoon and you like how they're animated, but at the same time you like how... It was just like, we were talking about art styles and it's just like something that you can't... It's just people that you meet that know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the art style of this and do you see how the animation it bounces a little or like something like that, and it's just like they know what you're talking about because they're in a class or they're in a club that is specifically focused in what you're talking about.
Yeah, because what's hilarious to me is like I hate going to clubs, but I'm gonna go meet a girl at the club, and then you go to the club and you meet a girl and everything's cool. And then you get mad at her. Oh, she's always trying to go to the club. Mm-hmm. It's like you met her at a club. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like don't date a bad bitch if you can't handle a bad beat.
Hey,
It's like you will meet the person you like doing the things you like.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. It's simple.
I think a lot of people struggle with just putting themselves in that environment in the first place.
Yeah,
just because like if you like art, if you like music, or if you like just talking about philosophical questions or just like knowledge in general, like put yourself in that environment. And what I find a lot with people that I meet, they're just like I will attract what I put out in the world. And that's very true, but that doesn't mean that like if you sit in your house and you just saying that, oh, I believe that I need groceries right now. So I'm just gonna like believe and put that out into the world so that I get groceries. Yeah. No, you have to go to the fucking grocery store. You have to go fucking get groceries.
Like, another example is like kind of like if you love reading books, you go to Barnes & Noble, you take an hour, you're just searching through the books. There's guys there doing the same thing. Or you go to GameStop, which stock is like $300 now. You go to GameStop, you're looking at the used games for PlayStation or Xbox, and a girl has the same console, she's looking at the same game. It's that. You're finding someone that already shares a huge an interest. That is the basic necessity.
See, that's dope.
To be with someone is to have the same interest.
Yeah, because my whole thing is like you already like that creates the introduction for you. I gotta say, oh shit, I've read that book before. Mm-hmm. Where are you at? You already have something to talk about. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, I already finished the book. Oh, you're halfway through. Oh, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a good book. Like, oh, what other books do you like? It's so easy to like tangent from from that if you're already doing something that you both have a shared interest in. But like I said, there's a lot of people that be like, oh, I'm gonna go to a bar to go meet a girl, but you hate going to bars. You hate drinking, and then you go there, you meet a girl, and what, you're tricking her to think that like you're into the shit that she's interested in, and then when you're together and she wants to keep doing that shit, now it's a problem. It's like, why are you even with that person? You know, I don't know. But anyway, Angel, what do you like to do? What's your favorite shit to do?
He loves. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Hey,
no, answer
you're with the guys.
Answer for yourself. You're a strong, independent man.
I'm interested now. What do you think I like to do?
You love to sing. You love music.
Karaoke.
You love to compose. You love to make your own music, but you love karaoke. You love karaoke. I know you love karaoke. I might be wrong, but I know you. I know I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
You love music. Music is your shit.
Yeah.
It's the composing. It's the writing for it, like, you know, like
the whole process,
mixing for it. It's the whole process to making a song. But he also just loves karaoke, vocal warm ups, and like singing in the car. That is his jam. He loves
what's up
to sing.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. As for me, I'm one of those people who used to think like, hey, like I'm not really gonna be good at like one specific thing and just spend the rest of my life just doing that thing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna spend my life just like learning a whole bunch of different things, and maybe I'm not gonna be a master at one, but I'm gonna know how to do a bunch of different shit. Yeah. And so I got comfortable with that thought, but then I went to school, well, not like college, but I went to middle school and high school. It was a charter school.
Yeah.
But I went there and I learned music, I learned dance, and it really exposed me to a lot of different stuff. And so that's where I originally got that belief. But I really have stuck with music. And then now looking back, I think that if I find myself like not knowing what to do on a day, like I can go out and I enjoy really talking about people, but I want to skip like past the small talk, you know. I want to talk about substance.
Absolutely.
So I really enjoy doing that. I really enjoy dancing. There's been like a couple of times where I just go out and just like ballroom dance. You know, that's one of the things that I've learned that I really enjoy. And just like doing random stuff that like I was really big into skateboarding, which brought me into snowboarding and also kind of surfing, but I haven't really mastered it yet.
And then he got a concussion from snowboarding.
Yeah. So like the thrill, you know, the thrill of life, and just like I feel like learning skills is really valuable.
That's funny because I think that's where we're the opposites. Like you love the thrill and like risking everything, and I'm so cautious.
But sometimes
I'm so scared. But like again, he pushes me to not be scared, and I really do appreciate. But that's where I feel we're opposite. Like anything where there's a possibility I might break my ankle, because that's my biggest fear, breaking my ankle. I don't know why. Breaking my ankle seems like the worst thing in the world.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not fun. Hey, what's up, Chino? We're doing a little podcast.
What's up, man?
So breaking my ankles is my biggest fear in the whole world. So anything like, okay, so like if I were to do a fall and I could break my ankle, it's scary. If I could fall and die, that's fine.
Like, do you remember when we went to that rock canyon?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I was shaking. I was like, I can't do it.
That was the best time of my life. I was just like, babe, I can climb this rock. I was like, yeah, I think I could do it. She's just like, no way, don't try.
He was like fucking Miles Morales, fucking. Oh my god, dude, he was Miles Morales on ecstasy, like fucking on all the rocks, and I was just like, this rock is like 2 feet from the floor. I can't do this. Where's the elevator?
Like that's why there is something to be said about like the whole like opposites like attraction.
I do. Like I will say, I appreciate that from him. Like he pushes me to do that.
And that's dope because you know what that does? That gives your life spice. You know, it's like, okay, you could be with someone who's exactly like you. Oh, I'm an introvert, doesn't like to talk to people. Well, you're an introvert, doesn't like to talk to people. We can be alone, stuck in a closet together, you know, like, or you can, you know, be with someone who, okay, I'm an introvert, I don't like going out, but this other person's a little bit more outgoing. So you can almost like live through them. Like if I would have just been by myself, I wouldn't have gone on this trip or visited this place. But because I'm with a person who's not like me, you know, I'm able to kind of experience more or get more out of life than I would have just on my own. And it works kind of both ways. Maybe someone who is extroverted doesn't like appreciate the finer things, like the ability to be able to spend time with yourself. Because I've met a lot of extroverts that we talked earlier about, like knowing thyself and like understanding what are your likes and what things you don't like. There's people who are very extroverted. They'd like to be like the center of attention. The party. If I go to a place, I'm the show. I'm the main. But sometimes those people are the ones that lack that ability of like knowing yourself. And you ask them like, what are your hobbies? Oh, I just go to people's houses and just hang out. It's like, well, I mean, what do you do when you're not doing that? And it's like, oh, what do you mean? So they sometimes need someone to kind of like show them, hey, it's not just about like being the show or being the popular person. A lot of times it's not even about like caring what other people think about you. It's about like, what do you bring to your own life? What do you bring to the table? Being a little bit more like self-reflective. And that's why I think that, the whole opposites like attracting like actually does work pretty well.
No, I really do love it because, again, how I said, he takes me out of my comfort zone. He reminds me of that. And not everything is going to break my ankles. Not everything's dangerous. But yeah, he does introduce me to a lot of new experiences and like he just talks to everyone. Like literally, we went to Stater Bros before this podcast and we were buying shit, and then he just started a conversation with someone in line. They were talking about being in the service and like all this stuff, and I was just like, just let me pick up my shit. I'm just trying to leave. Yeah. And they're having a full-on conversation. I'm like, here's my card. Thank you for my receipt. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone, but he was having a full-on conversation, and like I live in my hometown. This is where I grew up. This is where I went to high school. I see a lot of people I went to high school with in this town. He's from Florida. He don't know anybody here. I'm in California. He don't know anybody, but like he always finds an opportunity to talk to someone and have a conversation. If I see someone from high school, don't fucking look at me. You didn't see me, bitch. I didn't see you either.
Ignore me.
I'm trying to get in and out.
But you know what? Let's talk about that. Because I remember, like, I spent about, like, 2 or 3 years living in New York. I will say that there's, like, a little bit of a benefit to being extroverted. Because when you go to a place where you didn't go to high school with anyone, you don't have friends that you've had your whole life. You're just brand spanking new. You almost have to develop, like, an outgoing personality because what? You're just going to be on your own otherwise. So I don't know. There's a little bit like more to it because I know that I've done that. I've gone to stores and been like, oh hey, I've never met you before, but like let's hang out. No,
it's just I call it the Wall-E complex. Well, like if you ever seen the movie Wall-E,
great movie.
I love that movie. But Wall-E is just like he introduces himself to everyone. He shakes their hand. He's like, hi, I'm Wall-E, kind of thing. So anyone that can do that, I think of them as a Wall-E. I'm kind of like Eve. I'm like Eve.
I'm just here to do my own thing.
I have an objective and don't talk to me, kind of thing. It's just like like being a Wall-E. Great, I'm so happy for you. 10 out of 10. Make friends wherever you want, but like me, I'm like an Eve, and I'm like I'm here to get my chips and salsa and charcuterie board. So can we move along? Like I don't want to talk to anyone. Yeah, and it's just like. I don't know. It's just something that's not natural to me, and like it's so weird because my parents are both Wallies, kind of thing. Like they both love talking to people. They love making friends. I'm just not like that.
Well, it's like that. I mean, I'm gonna butcher it, but like my wife brought it up one time. It's like how do introverts make friends, and extrovert like found them and forced them to come out with them. Like that's kind of how that part works.
Yeah, like Angel's my extrovert. Like. I have so many Instagram friends now that were his friends, and I'm like, I don't remember this person. I'm like, oh yeah, I met them when that one time I went to his friend's house party or something. And it's just like I don't know. It's not in the cards for me. It's not in my bones.
I don't know. What helps me sometimes is like when I'm like in a new environment and like I didn't grow up there, I don't know anyone there. I almost feel like a little bit free because I could do what I want, say what I want, and like. They don't know me. I'm never going to see them again.
I will say, I did feel that way in Florida.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I'm never going to be here. I was like, and not that I'm never going to be there again, because like we're obviously going to visit your family. But it felt very freeing to just like, no one knows me here.
Well, it's easier to make like a fool of yourself. Like if I let's say for example, I go to Arizona. I've gone to Arizona once in my life. And if like I'm out with some people and they're going to go do some karaoke or whatever, like. if it was like in my hometown, I might be like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, what if I see him tomorrow and they make fun of me? But if I'm in an environment where I don't know anyone, like if I go to Vegas, everyone who's in like Las Vegas is from somewhere else. So I don't really care. I'll get drunk. I'll go make a fool of myself, knowing damn well that I'm never gonna see any of these people ever again. So it's freeing.
Karaoke for me is an exception. Because we went to Florida, we went to karaoke, but I have to be shit. I was not shit faced when we went to karaoke. I need to be shit faced.
That's liquid courage.
I need that liquid courage all the way to be able to sing karaoke in front of strangers. I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't know why. I need it.
I mean, everybody has got their own like different perspective and their own like experiences why they back their own belief up, like as to like meeting other people and exposing themselves in the world, because it really is a hard thing, and I acknowledge that, you know, and I don't think that I'm someone who's exceptionally good at that by any means, you know, but I feel like I've just been forced to do it just because, like, you know, we've already talked about like ego death and like me taking so much acid, and that wasn't even like the only time I've taken acid. I've consistently done it, you know, and I feel like in experiencing ego death, I have realized that there are things within myself, like imperfections within myself, and really like deep insecurities that I really need to get to the root of and like get to the bottom of and just like figure out. Just so that I don't have to go through the same thing that I went through. Yeah. So I think that in experiencing that, it has made me more of a social person. And then second thing is just joining the military. Like at a moment's notice, you're in South Carolina and you're surrounded by 99 other guys, you know, guys or girls, whatever gender you are. And then you're forced to shower with these people. You're forced to be with these people at every single second of the day. You all sleep in the same room. You all get fucked up together, whether you're like throwing up on the quarterdeck or you just like experience the same hardship. And you guys don't know it. You guys are coming from like different parts of the United States, you know. And I have made good friends in doing that. And I will probably never know those people again. But from South Carolina, I went to North Carolina, and then I went back to Florida, back to my home state, to Pensacola, and then going to California. You know, just shifting places, and in California, going to like Yuma, Arizona, to the border of Mexico, and just like going like all these places. You're just forced to just like, oh, I don't got shit to do right now. Yeah. Hey, what's up? You know, just like experiencing that, I feel like everybody would get more comfortable with strangers, you know.
I mean, you have to, because a lot of times too, like because of your ego, you can get offended easily. Like, oh, this person, like, I'm not vibing with them, so just screw them, you know. But like once you get to a point where, you know, you let go of your pride, your ego, you're more willing to accept people from like random places, especially like you said. You know, you meet someone, oh, they're from Texas, they're from North Carolina, and you know you have like a limited time with that person. Okay, we're on this project for 30 days or 90 days or even like 6 months or whatever. But you know there's an end date to your friendship. You know, so you're more willing to be like, you know what, let me step outside of my comfort zone and let me befriend this person, because if I'm going to be stuck with them for 6 months, I might as well be cool with them. And then after the 6 months, whatever happens after happens, you know, and you're able to move on. Ooh, sorry. I had a good amount of drink. Shit, before we even started this thing.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, I do get that. Like, obviously, working at Starbucks is nothing compared to the military. But I made really good friends at Starbucks. And, like, I remember there was a time where we would hang out after work. And, like, you know, we would have cookouts and, like, parties. And, like, it was just really great. And then, like, after a while, like, a lot of things started changing. So a lot of people started quitting. And, like, it was just very different after that. And I do really miss the days where, like, you know, like, we could go to work and then afterwards get a beer. And, like, it would be really great. Yeah. And that's part of the reason, like, why I quit. Because it was just very toxic. And at the same time, like, with Rona and all stuff, like, I didn't feel safe going back. And, like, I wasn't allowed to go back because I had symptoms still, even though I wasn't testing positive.
Yeah.
But it's just like meeting random people. Like I can't. I just can't. Like what you're saying. Like it obviously it's different with every personality, but it's so hard for me. I don't know why. Like I'll be like about to say hi to someone, and then my heart will be racing like 1,000 beats a minute, and I was like, she's just another person.
I have a really good analogy to that because whenever I was going through my whole like self-reflection, like not really era, but just like time period. You know, I was going through that, and then I was really doing research about like psychology and personality types, exactly as she was saying, and that's why it like come to my brain right now. But like one diagram that I saw that was really interesting to me was personality types, and then he put them in different colors. So there was blue and red on the extrovert type, and then there was green, and then there was yellow on the introvert types, and then they all related it to like an elevator. So the red type is if you go into an elevator and then you just press the button and you keep pressing it, and then you're just like you can't wait until the doors actually close. You know,
the more I press it, the faster I'll get there. Yeah?
It's like the fire inside you is just like I need to go someplace, and I have my direction, and I'm going there, and that's all I'm looking at. It's like tunnel vision. Yeah. But like the blue person is just like the person that maybe presses the button for somebody else, although like even though they're just like walking past, they might not be even like using the elevator at all. Yeah. The green person is the person who's like very like introverted. Like I said, green and yellow are like the introverts. So green is more like the person who's like really introverted. They might be on the elevator already, but there's like maybe like too many people, so there's one person walking up and they're like, hey, open the door for me, but then before opening the door for them, they look at the weight capacity. They're just like, hey, is this safe? They're just like overthinking everything, you know. Mm-hmm. And then the yellow is just like thinking about I think I'm drawing a blank right now, but
I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
I think yellow is actually extrovert, and then they're the person that's inside the elevator, and then like they're just like, oh, we're going up a couple floors, and then they spark a conversation with the other person. Yeah. So I might be butchering a little bit, but that's the general like gist of it, and I thought that was really interesting, just based off of what she said.
No, I agree.
I don't know. It's just like for me, I'm like, it's not worth sparking a conversation, but for a lot of people, it is worth it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's just like it's kind of like, okay, when we went on the trip, you talked about how we had different trips. My whole thing is like, okay, when I smoke the devil's lettuce, marijuana,
kind of bud.
Yeah, I always get anxiety every single fucking time. Like I get anxiety. I think about every bad decision I've ever made in my life. I question my existence, and like like my heart starts racing. I feel like I can't breathe, and like just it's a bad time. But when I was on the trip with acid, I felt the anxiety, but I felt myself pushing it down so that I wouldn't feel it. I remember pushing it down. So it was just like everything I felt, it felt like amplified, and like I would move like this, and I would see things like go like ooh like that with like a little delay or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, like I very much enjoy that instead of the devil's lettuce.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just like I like a lot of like weed smokers will tell me like you haven't found the right. I've heard that a lot. You haven't found the right strand for you. You have to keep trying, or like maybe it's like I understand that, but like every single time I've tried it, I get anxiety, and it's just not a cool time. Yeah. But with acid, I just felt very in control, but at the same time, I just felt like I was lifted from my worries. Like I was present in the moment, and like we didn't take enough for me to be hallucinating.
I was just gonna say that probably a lot of that also has to do with the fact of like because you took like half a tab.
Yeah, I took half a tab, and like I didn't have the hallucinations or anything like that, so I wasn't hallucinating, but I felt it relieved me from any anxiety I had. So like I was there, I was having fun. Like I was just sitting there, and like I just remember thinking like, wow, I'm not anxious, because like usually like I'm with his friends. And or like I'll be with any type of people, and like I'll be sitting in that, like completely sober, I'll be sitting in that situation and I'll have anxiety, like I'm not talking enough, I don't know these people, what are they thinking about me, like do I look stupid sitting here, and it's just like there's so many thoughts going in my head, and it caused me anxiety.
Yeah.
But with the acid, it was pushing down the anxiety, so I was just sitting there like, oh, this is fun. Like,
You're able to like vibe.
I was just not worried about the things I'm usually worried about.
Yeah. And that might be the right doses for you too, because a lot of people are like, oh man, I took half a tab and it felt good, so if I take a full tab it'll be twice as good, but if I take two, but then what happens? You go on a bad trip. Why? Little insecurities kill you.
No, that was my whole thing, was like I remember being on half a tab and I was like, I should have taken more, but I know if I would have taken more it would have been too much.
Yeah, I mean that's why people say that they are proponents of microdosing, you know, like maybe not enough to screw you up so that you're out for hours, but maybe enough where you can still function throughout the day, but it helps like mellow out a lot of, well, at least from my perspective, like I have the type of mind that like races, where like the best way that I could describe it is like if you've ever watched the news, they're talking about whatever bullshit, but then when you look in the bottom there's like words coming out. It's called a ticker tape, where like they're talking about, I don't know, a robbery in some town, but in the bottom it's like, oh, this place got bombed, or this many soldiers died, or like it's just a stream of information, and at no point does it slow down. It's just more and more and more, and that's how my brain works. Like my brain is constantly just shooting information. So a lot of times, like if you do like a microdose, it kind of helps. Like maybe it doesn't stop the rush of information, but it helps you like not focus on it, so you're like focused on something else, and then it kind of helps you kind of just like process things a little bit easier, because instead of having all this noise, you're able to focus on like the individual thing that you really need to work on. And that's why they say, like, you know, when people microdose on shrooms or you know, LSD or something, and they've been through a traumatic experience, a lot of times they're able to kind of like stop and step outside of themselves, where before you're like a victim. You're like, oh, this happened to me and I can't get it off my head. Sometimes when you take these little like psychedelics, you're able to like take a step back from your own life,
right,
view the issue or the trauma or whatever, and then you're able to kind of like look outside of it. Okay, this is just a small part, you know, of my whole. And then when you can focus on your whole life and you give yourself value and meaning, you can move on from what's making you a victim and you become a survivor. Like, that happened to me, but now I can move past it. Yeah, what's up, Willie? All right, man.
We're gonna take a time out.
All right, guys. You know what? This might be a good time to pause it. So, hey, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Or we're ending it.
I think we're gonna end it.
Okay, bye.
This might take a while. So, bye, guys. Thank you for showing up to the podcast. You've been great, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, bye.
Peace.